So nice to see everybody. Welcome. Cross your shins. Place your hands on your thighs. Lift your spine up by pressing your hands down. Head up, chin up. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Just let your eyes close. Don't worry about flexing or pushing your body, flexing or moving your spine. Just go for height. Go for space. Give yourself the space to make something new with, right? You want to paint your walls, you got to pull off the old wallpaper. You want to rearrange your house, you got to move some stuff first to get enough space to start putting things together. This is not about totally getting rid of everything you've already got, or thinking anything that you've done was so bad that you can't go onward from where you are now. Because life can feel pretty full. Our pain can dominate, and if not just physical pain of like the hamstring or the hip, but the emotional pain that stops us from fully coming into ourselves. So as you're lifting your spine, take your breath in while you sit here and let that make space. Let your breath make more space with each inhale, not pushing the bounds of your stretch or your flexibility, but each breath making the body just move a little, so you can always feel that when you take that breath in, there's that space you create, and when you exhale, there's movement to let go of things that don't create what you need. And just like all things, there's a grade to it all. Are you creating space through force? So the grade of it is low, that you're not quite giving yourself the fullest, the best version of it? Is your space something, is it how you're creating it done with care or love or energy or whatever? So you create this different grades or quality of your space. The idea of, do the ends justify the means? You want space? Well, are you willing to force it, coerce it, love it, support it? So feel what kind of space you're making just even here before you go into the practice, because whatever you start your practice with is likely to be what you carry through most of it. And the practice of yoga has a certain ability to change that, but the few who show up, right, and are actively learning in their practice, are actively learning about themselves, you go for that different quality of it. Not just the quality of your teacher or their poses, but the quality of space and work you do inside your body. The quality of things you're willing to give yourself. And to recognize that the things that were happening, or you might have done or happened to you, that there's a different slide to those also. That the negatives that we carry also have a quality to them. And we can be aware to remove some of the intensity of them so they have less power, or to emphasize the right ones so they can be healed. So one of the things the practice gives us is that awareness, so we don't just live in the constant state of this one small thing that comes to mind all the time, stops everything. You can recognize the quality of it is not as intense. That ultimately you're in control of these things. And so as you go through your poses tonight, my friends, whatever they might be, let your breath remind you that each breath you take into the pose, you're infusing, energizing, permeating the body with a type of practice. A practice that you refine and learn about through doing it with yourself, maybe some insight, help from a teacher and others, but ultimately what you put into it, the quality of it, is what you're going to create something out of. It's the type of journey and end result you will have. So if you treat yourself like a criminal, locked away in your own body, just building a better prison. If you treat yourself like someone who's learning and has a long way to go, the universe of opportunities opens. Bring your palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum. Take a nice breath in, we'll Om and then start. Om. Bow your head. And salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your head up, your hands in your lap, and your eyes open. All right. So continuing Tuesday's extravaganza of the abdominis region. Let's go ahead, stand up, do some standing poses, warm the body up, get things moving. But we'll do 3 poses that we did from Tuesday just to warm up the body, but then we'll add 2 different ones. How about that? Just so you don't get bored. Thighs together, feet together, heels touching. Tadasana, please. As the heels touch together, squeeze the calf thigh together. Move the thigh bone back. Let the hamstring lift the glute, and the glute flexes so you feel the abdominis flex. Stretch both arms straight up into the air, palms facing in. Hastasana. Lift up through the side body, lateral body. And feel how the abdominis engages in these poses. If you can flex your abdomen and move the belly back and lift it so you feel the ribs lift, that's a better action than totally letting the abdomen hang forward and down. So become aware of what side of the abdomen lifts and rises easier, what rib cage, because that's going to correlate from your legs. So try for a moment, keep your arms up, keep your ribs up, let both legs totally relax. Feel how the weight goes into your back and the knees and the feet. Flex only your right thigh and squeeze your right thigh to the left, and then feel that abdominal flexion. Can you engage that abdomen? It almost creates a bowing effect of the body. Try to flex your left abdomen while keeping your right leg flexed. It almost pulls your body back into a center. So let your abdomen, legs relax. Do your left leg. Flex your left thigh, really engage it, squeeze it to the right, and then flex and lift that left abdominal wall. Feel that engagement, feel the lift. The shorts will lift up on one side more than the other. And then try to keep your left leg engaged, your right leg relaxed. Flex the right side of your abdomen. So you really flex both of it and feel the tilt. Now, I'm having you feel it on the extremes on both sides because we tend to do this anyway. Relax both legs. Take a nice breath, push down through the feet, flex both thighs. Lift the glute with the hamstring. Now draw the abdomen back, flex the core from all the way at the top of the pubic region pelvis up. Lift it up the length of your spine. Interlace your fingers, turn the palms up to the ceiling. Lift from the base of the pelvis and the core muscle up. Make all ascent come from the center body. Not that it doesn't naturally tend to do this, but yogis don't leave anything up to chance in the sense of when we are moving our body, our work is to be ultimately very aware, not in control, but aware of it. So until you learn to feel it flex, you're never going to know when it's just not. You have to feel it work and feel it fail. I have failed a ton in my yoga practice and in my work because it is through feeling our failure that we actually learn how we're succeeding and where we can emphasize and move in those directions that are beneficial for us. Turn your palms down, change the lacing of the fingers so the opposite set of fingers are on top, and then turn your palms up. Failure does not mean you're bad or you did wrong. Failure just means you failed to execute this thing. It's practice. It's not bad or wrong. It's a part of learning. Now, the ego likes to use failure to tell us we're wrong and we're bad, or we're less, or we're weak. So when you're here doing these poses, flex the abdomen, move the abdomen towards the spine, and really engage it. Even if you feel if you lose sight of it when you lift your arms or you work your legs more, that's okay. Now you start thinking about, how do I work my legs and my core at the same time? How do I lift my arms and my core at the same time? And then try to feel all three at the same time. Spread your awareness like butter melting across a pan, right? It's this awareness that's not intense in just one spot, but is consistent throughout all parts. Because that awareness creates a stability that gives you a choice. And that choice is, do you quit when it's hard, or do you only stop when you're hurting? And while it will be hard, do not quit. Take care of yourself. If your arms being up to this line really hurts, it's okay to come out. But just don't lose the legs, the core, and the lift of the rib cage. But I'm not going to be that cruel. Bring the arms down. We could have spent a whole class there. Step wide, feet 3.5 to 4 foot apart. Take the fingers of each hand, place it on the abdomen so you feel the abdominal walls. Even if you don't think anything's under there, trust me, it's under there. And I want you to push with your fingers just enough that you can push your abdomen out against those fingers. So you're going to flex your belly forward slightly, not sway your back, but push your abdomen and harden it. So now it's engaged. Now keep that hardness and pull the abdomen away from the fingers so you feel the ribs have to lift slightly. So you flexed it and pushed it into the fingers. Now keep the flex and pull it back away from the fingers. Turn your right toes out. Keep that. Try to keep that in your hands the whole time. Keep both sides working. If you lose it, re-engage it. And feel, just by turning the right leg out, how one side changes from the other. Work through the legs. Bend the right knee into warrior two for a moment. And if you lose it, feel free to distend the abdomen, push the abdomen into the fingers so you feel something. Harden it, and then pull it back as deep as you can. Traditionally, when we distend the abdomen, it's not pushing the diaphragm out. It happens way down here at the bottom layer, the abdominal under the pelvis. That is the easiest part to distend. So you want to retract down their back extra hard, because at the base abdominis is where you get much more lift of this one. And then bend the knee deeper, setting your hips down on the back. Let your butt come down from the flex of the hamstring, but your abdominis from the groin up lift. Keep your fingers there. Take your right elbow onto your right knee laterally. Do a funky little side angle. Feel how one side changed versus the other. I'm getting the best look from Tristan, going like, you're an asshole. Bend the right knee any degree more. Challenge the abdominal walls to stay engaged as you just explore a range of motion with your body. Lean your upper body back, because your core is letting you lean your body weight into the whole length of your spine. More. The more you can lean your abdominis back, your core muscles back, you can flex your legs and challenge all these strength parts, right? Are we aware? Katie nodded, so that's good enough.
Dustin, how do you breathe with that?
How do you breathe? You have to breathe from the diaphragm up here now. So everyone hold the pose. So while you're holding that deep abdominal flex, if you can't breathe here in the center abdominis, you're sucking down. I want you to go, that's why the fingers are on the sides here. Pull the sides back and the bottom back, but then try to breathe from the bottom of your diaphragm up into the lung. If you're pulling your chest down, your rib cage down, you won't be able to breathe. So it's more a bottom up rather than a top down. Give that a try. Everyone breathe your upper lobes of your lungs. Thank you, Lena. Very good question. All right. We'll hold the pose until she gets into it. Rotate the head while you engage the core and feel which side of your core wants to quit the minute you turn your head. It's your right side, FYI. Exhale, bring the body up. Very nice. Turn your right toes in, turn your left toes out. Did you lose your core somewhere along that whole trip? It's okay. I mean, it's just part of learning when do I quit using some parts and only use others. And some parts don't work, but when you're lifting your spine up, your core should work. Hands on the tongue. Take a breath, distend it out. And when you exhale, harden and retract it back. Ribs are lifted. So you got to be able to breathe from the bottom of the diaphragm hood at that up into the lungs and hold that space. Bend the left knee. Keep the core flexed the whole time. It is easy to lose one side versus the other, and it's okay if you have to take another breath in. Feel that distend of the abdomen. Harden it while it's distended and retract it back. Because what you're doing is you're teaching it to move and flex. That move and flex action. Take the left elbow to the knee. Let the hips come down as your core lifts and extends the spine. And hold. Good, nice. Lean the upper body back, but keep the core. The more you lean the upper body back, you'll feel each leg have to work harder. And your head may turn to look up. But each action is done with the awareness of where is my body in this space, and can I keep myself stable so that I can explore safely. And then again, what quality? How are you forcing yourself through this first little bit of very torturous work? What's the language you're using with you? Oh, this is good because I have to lose weight. Not great language. That's not good quality work, I would say. Even if you don't believe it, give yourself a positive. Well, you know, by doing this, I am at least, you know, learning I do have abs. I'm doing this because I love myself. Tell yourself that. You may know it, but you have to learn to believe. You got to hold this for a while. Lena had you all here forever, so I'm just very sorry. You just have to do this. Work the belly, bend the knee. Lean back. Come on up. Good enough. Left toes in, turn your right toes out. All right. You're going to do half moon, so get whatever block or thing you need past your right foot for half moon. A hand on a chair, whatever it is you do for that. I would encourage using some height. If you're very practiced and you're like, oh, I can do it pretty well with my hand on the floor. Honestly, it is harder to engage the core when your body is at a weird tilt, when your chest is lower than your pelvis. So I encourage you to use a prop. In a yoga studio, I would just tell you to, but I'm yelling at you online. This is a different class. So Trent's got a block. You're going to turn your right toes out. Your left hand, the 5 fingers, touch the abdomen. At least one finger, pinky or middle or whatever, down near pubic region. Not right on top of the pubic region, just a little above it. So right about, you know, where the pelvic bones would line up across the hip. Tristan's pinky is there. So just touch with the fingertips, take the belly breath. Let the stomach distend, harden it, retract it back, lift the ribs so you can breathe into the lungs, bend the right knee, hold the core, put your right hand on your block chair prop, lift up into half moon, but keep the core the whole time. Lift from the core, picking you up. You will wobble. Now you can put your foot on a wall or chair or whatever. I'm not worried about prop use. I'm worried about abdominal use. So while you're here, if you push your fingers into your abdomen, is it still engaged? And can you flex it and pull it back so you can lean your spine back? Because that is where you'll ultimately find a lot of rotation in this. Very nice, everybody. Good, keep the core. Now twist your core muscles up. Use your core to lift your left hip higher, your left foot higher, Shubha. There you go. And then lift your ribs up away from your right hand slightly from the core. So your lateral body ascends slightly because you eventually want minimal weight in the hand. The hand is for balance, not for weight bearing. It's hard. And the core muscles that you're all touching are part of them that create the lift, the ones the hardest to engage. Nice. Now, if you can keep it all, feel free to extend your arm up to the ceiling, but keep your awareness like that spread across the hot pan, the butter across the hot pan, right? It's still there in the same amount as the core as you add the arm, but if the arm would be too much, it's okay to keep on top of where you keep a smaller pan. Exhale, come down, bend the knee, go back to wide. Try to step around. Left toes out, right toes in. Right hand touches the stomach. Flex the abdominal wall, bend the left knee. Extend out over the left leg. Keep the core muscles as you laterally move. Use your core to stretch your body out. And then exhale, lift the leg up. Flex those abs. Notice how when you start to lift that leg, if your belly's turned down, your gut gives out. You got to pull it up away from that hand. Always try and lift your core towards your spine, away from your fingers. That's that hard work, that hard action is what ultimately allows the pelvis to rotate and get into the deeper pelvic muscle, in this pose particularly. Feels different, huh? Yeah, makes your leg not screaming. And you hold, and you breathe, and you suffer. And you learn, and you fall. Exhale. Don't come out, just exhale. Some of you are holding your breath. I saw you, Shubha. Now try to use your core to lift your right leg a hair higher and then lift your ribs and upper body off of the block a little bit. You get real fancy, you start floating your hand off the block. Start teaching that core to work. All right, now come on down. Very good. Turn your toes forward. So standing nice and wide. Turn both toes out away from each other about 30 degrees roughly. So your toes are pointing more towards the corner of your mat. Hands go up on the top of the pelvic rim near the abdomen. Index middle finger actually can push into the abdomen a little bit that connects into your lower pelvis about where Trissa's got her hands. Take the belly breath, feel it extend, totally relaxed, spread, and then exhale, flex it and retract it back away from those fingers back. Lift your chest up, your head to look up as high as you can. Turn your face up. Lift your chest up to follow your face up off of the abdomen because you're taking a flexed muscle and stretching it. Now exhale, keep your legs flexed, push through the feet with your toes turned out. I know it's weird. Flex the glutes, lift your hamstrings into your buttock. Pick your chest up from your core. Fold at your hips, forward into straddle, but keep your core flexed the whole way. Keep your chest up. Keep your head looking the same direction the whole time, or at least the same angle, so your face up away from the chest. And then when you're down, keep the core, hands on the floor, pivot on both heels, turn your toes to face each other and feel the core flex harder and pick it up higher. So your back can go down when you bend the elbows, if you like. The core muscle lifts the pelvis and the spine to take pressure off of the lower back. So the more down you want to go in this, it's not just going to be your poor hamstrings, I promise. You walk your hands back in line with your feet and you bend your elbows, bending your elbows towards the same direction your calf is pointing, not wide, but under through your thighs. So walk your hands back a little bit, Ryan. You got this, buddy. And then bend those elbows. Let your core lift, but let your chest and spine hang down on the hinge of your hip. There you go. Bend your elbows more, bud. You got it. Yeah. Stand a little wider, Shubha. Very good, Katie. Nice, Lena. The more you lift and broaden the lower back by the core lifting you, not crunching your ribs down, but pulling your bottom ribs up to spread the rib cage, you end up with a much wider upper body. And when you widen the back muscle away from the spine, it decompresses it. And then you take a breath and you let your whole upper back hang deeper. So the hinge of the hip and the hamstring goes deeper. But your back muscle core, I want to be very clear, when I say flex the front core to lift it to your back, be very careful that you're not shrugging your shoulders to your neck or trying to push your chest bone on the front to the backbone. The back widens, but it is not because you're concaving the front completely. Right side down. Your right rib. And take a few breaths. Take a belly breath, and just for a moment, let the abdomen stop working and feel where the work goes in your legs. Feel how your hips shift. Feel how your back grips differently. Remember, we want to stretch all these parts, but we don't want to put all the work on one part. If we can ask 3 parts to work and stretch equally, that's 1, more efficient, 2, safer, and builds more confidence that one part of you is not stopping you from having the life you want or the mobility you want. So take a belly breath, retract the abdomen up, and then stretch your ribs down. Bend your elbows more, Ryan. There you go, bud. Let your chest go down to whatever degree. Your head can look down if you want. There you go. Place both hands on your hips where they started. Keep your body right where it is. Don't go up or down. Just hold. So if you're holding halfway, good luck. Take a belly breath, and I want you to think about pushing through your heels. Do not lift from your shoulder or your head, but lift up from your navel, picking your spine up all the way up. You learn to do that in this pose, chaturanga becomes a much easier pose. Lift from the core, lifting your spine. Very nice, everybody. Makes you go slow to keep it flexed that hard, but also protect your back. Grab a block, lay on your back. Speaking of which. What? Lift your hips, place the block under your sacral plate on edge. Edge is the second tallest height. Not the tall, not the flat, edge. All right. Take your right leg over your left leg. So your right thigh goes over your left thigh, not just ankle, but the whole backside of your right hamstring you're trying to lay on your left thigh. Squeeze your right foot towards your left calf, even though it may not touch. You point that foot, you flex those thighs, and you squeeze them in. Pick up both legs off the floor so the knees are above the hip. And then take both legs to your left 5 to 10 inches and hold. Just a small tilt. You're doming the heart. I apologize, I mentioned. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Stretch from the center of your chest bone to the outer shoulder. And when you go to the left in this case, in Setubandha, you should feel the left side of your sacral plate. There's a muscle called your piriformis that connects into it. You should be laying on that. Maybe cranky about it. Go to the right, from center to the right 5 inches. Squeeze your left calf towards the, or right, squeeze your top leg into your bottom calf. Right goes into left in this case. Keep that action even as you go across, because to squeeze and rotate those thighs in, it takes the core muscle. The abdominis must flex to help the legs work and vice versa, mostly the legs to the abdominis. Back to center. Switch your legs up. So your left thigh drapes over your right. Squeeze your left foot to your right calf. Pick up both feet off the floor so the knees are above the hip, and then take both legs to the right. 5 inches. To the left, from center to the left, about 5 inches. Back to center, feet on the floor. Take your right leg straight up into the air, please. Take your left foot 1 inch off the floor. Dome the heart. Thank you. And then slowly, keeping your foot about 1 inch off the floor, the left side, stretch your left leg straight. Sliding the leg out, not up into the air, Ryan, but 1 inch off the floor. Straighten it out as best you can. The right leg stays up in the air. The left leg elongates out and you hold. Now experiment with, take your fingertips and touch your abdomen. Which side of your abdomen is flexing more than the other? Can you engage both of them even though they might be different actions with the legs? Can you ask the core to flex? Still got to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bend your knees, plant your feet flat. Now take your left leg up in the air. Old classic poses teach us so much about all sorts of things. Keep that abdominal flex and then make your chest lift up more to help the lift of the spine. Right foot off the floor 1 inch. And then be like Tristan and stretch it out straight if you want. Slowly. These freaking Rockettes. She thought it was the Rockettes. She just had to kick really hard. Passion was huge. Flex the abdominis to make your legs work harder, for one. All right, bend the knees, feet flat to the floor. Lift your hips up, take the block out. Squeeze the block between your knees, please, with both knees bent. Yoga care. Yoga teacher. Squeeze the block between the knees, please, best you can. Thighs tight, adducting each thigh into the block, and then pick up both feet off the floor so the knees are right above your hips. And then squeeze, work it. Keep squeezing the blocks. Take both knees about 10 inches, 5 to 10 inches to the left so you feel your right hip come off the floor slightly. Keep yourself that direction. Lower your feet down to about 1 inch off the floor in the slight twist you're in. And then slowly try to keep your feet 1 inch off the floor and straighten your legs out away from your hips while you're laying on that left glute. Keep your legs low and extend the legs straight out away from your body. Now, when I say straight out away from your body, if you're doing it and you're kind of in a V shape, you're not going straight out away from your body. So your legs have to pull down to almost go straight along your yoga mat, which is hard. So Shubha, move your feet away from the camera towards your yoga mat, dear. Like that. Yeah, there you go. See, now it's hard. Now everyone bend your knees, pull your legs back. Go to the right 10 inches. So if you're lying with your yoga mat, you're going to stretch your legs straight out down your yoga mat at a slight twist. So you're going to teach those abdominals how to rotate and extend. So now lower the feet to 1 inch off the floor. Keep going. Keep going. Now slide your legs out, and they don't have to go perfectly straight. Just don't let them go up and don't let them go off your yoga mat. Keep them on the line of your yoga mat as best you can. It's working. It's working. All right, back to center. To the left. What? You learn it the first time, you feel it the second time, and then you do it the third time. But now that your both knees are to the left, lower your feet to 1 inch off the floor, stretch your legs out along the length of your yoga mat as best you can, keeping the feet low. Don't lift the legs up, but you're extending like you're trying to straighten your body out. Squeeze the block. Woo! Which leg's working harder than the other? Back to center. To the right. Lower your feet. Stretch them out. Keep your legs low. Don't just unbend your knee, unbend your hips. I was doing this the other day and I popped my SI joint so intensely. Feel it, can't you? Draw the knees in. To the left. Now stretch your arms overhead, place the back of your hands on the floor. Let's do it. Oh, Tristan just asked why, because I'm a bad guy, that's why. So with both legs to the left, lower your feet to 1 inch, stretch your arms away from you, elongate your legs away from your feet. Breathe. Breathe into your lungs, don't breathe into your abdomen. Bring your legs up, go to the right, lower your feet down 1 inch. Just get it done, stretch it out, arms overhead. Feet lower. This is hard, this is not easy work. Are we aware of our core muscles yet? All right, legs in. Squeeze the block between the knees. Stretch both legs straight up to the sky. Best you can straight. Even if your knees are slightly bent, just work on the lift. No hands though. Thank you, Shubha. Now keep your legs straight up, squeeze the block. Take both legs to the left 5 inches. Not too bad. Go to the right 5 inches. Be methodical, be slow. Don't let your legs fall away from your abdomen. Keep trying to retract the thigh towards your belly. Keep trying to pull your belly away from the thigh towards your spine. Go to the left 10 inches and hold. We're going to play a game. However far degrees you go, that's how many seconds you have to hold. To the right 10 inches. Try to keep your legs straight as you move across. Try to keep your legs engaged. Pick those legs up, Shubha. You got it, dear. You got this. Now feel how you're gripping your shoulder, your neck, and your teeth. Let those go. Come back to center. Place both feet on the floor and rest for a moment. That's pretty good. Oh, we have so much time. Take a moment, just kind of breathe in the abdomen, let it relax, let your body relax, feel the shift. Core work always changes the stabilization of the pelvis and the back. It also challenges us to change our language about ourselves. Right? Remember what I said first. Quality of your work will define what you get out of this. Squeeze the block between your knees. Quality of the words you use about yourself will define a lot of your work. Pick your legs up. You got this. Even if you, so we're going to go past 10. So I'm going to say this. If 5 and 10 were where you were comfortable and you are shaking and dying at 15 and 20, stay in 5 and 10. I would rather you stay where your work is good and healthy rather than push yourself into the Badlands. But squeeze the block, take both legs to the right 15 or so inches. So you're getting close to the outer hip. Your ribs should still be on the floor pretty easily, your upper ribs. And then squeeze it. You shouldn't need the arms too awful much. Now we're going to hold for 15 seconds. Come back up, go to the left, 10, 15, about 15 inches or so. Degrees. Hold. Draw the abdomen away from the thigh by retracting the core towards your ribs. Pull your thighs after the abdomen. The thighs want to be abdomen's friend. Abdomen does not want friend. To the right, 20 inches. Woo. So now your hip has got some elevation. Now you feel the back starting to lift. The shoulder's going to have to work a little bit. So let the chest open. Stretch from your left ab all the way through your left leg. Halfway. As in halfway through the time. Up, 20 to the left. Abdomen draws towards the ribs, so the ribs lift. So there's weight shifting that way. And from your right abdominal wall, all the way through the right leg extend. There it is. You're almost done. Look at the wiggly feet. Exhale, up you go. Take the block out. Oh. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Draw your left leg to you, grabbing the back of your knee with both hands. Bend your elbows, stretch for a moment, let it work out. All right, switch sides. Unwind your legs. Stretch your legs out, let your eyes close. Let the eyes close, tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And breathe into the space that you worked so hard to learn or to change. Let yourself feel it. We should not be afraid to look at the quality of the work we've done, because then how do we know what to do better next time, or differently, or to continue the same things? Let your breath be what looks at your body. Let it be the first part to feel it out, kind of like, stumbling in the dark. Use your hands out in front of you to make sure you don't run into anything. But in the dark of our own body, where we can only go in our mind's eye, when you breathe, those are your hands out in there. So let each breath invigorate you, energize you to keep exploring all those places that may be hard or soft or tight or mobile, scary or happy. Take in all things that you are. Let the quality of how you look at yourself be something that you can be proud of and joyous about in conversation or in your own private thoughts and moments. And rest